Hi guys, how we doing? Slotcar 2021 back with a new video or kind of a podcast maybe. So I'm just going to show a few clips, some stills on the video, and I want to talk today about toy brands. Just before I get started, I just want to say some fantastic content coming from different people from different channels. So we had Pete, shout out to Pete, Track Fans TV. If you haven't joined the membership, Track Fans TV, join it. Every week you get clips of progress that Pete's doing on, for example, like cars, because he's building a few cars at the moment. So sneak peek, something that you don't get on the community tab if you're not a member. So it's well worth doing it. And obviously the Track Fans TV logo that you can put in the chat. So support him, and then he can grow his channel by purchasing better equipment. The coverage down at Rockingham, the digital race on Sunday was good, but he did have a few issues with a warp battery. So yeah, I think, I'm sure that in the future he can improve the setup, and the only way he's going to do that is by people giving him a hand, because this isn't something that you can really fund yourself. If we're watching the content and we're enjoying the content, then we have a responsibility to support these channels, to ensure that the content that we're getting is what we want. And the only way to do that is, helping out, giving a little bit if you can. Obviously not everyone can give, but that's the way that we're going to get better content, because the nature of good content is you need good equipment to record with. So multiple camera setups aren't cheap, and switching hardware is expensive as well. So yeah, if you can give some to all the different channels, if possible. I'm always definitely looking out to give money wherever possible. So yeah, Travis, that slot car guy, the news is top notch at the moment. So some fantastic news coming out every week. So yeah, loving that as well. And good to see that Pendle Slot is now sponsoring. Pendle Slot's amazing in terms of what they offer in terms of kits, with sport for choice really, with all the different companies. And I believe they ship worldwide as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure that they do. Magnetic Racing, obviously, they're now into America through Electric Dreams. And yeah, sport for choice these days with suppliers and products. Shout out to Rob Swift Slots. That Gulf wheelbarrow was absolutely amazing. Absolutely love that build. It was just amazing engineering, and this is pencil and paper design work, which the nail and the string, absolutely amazing. But I think that's a dying art now. Everyone uses computers and CAD software, which takes the skill out of actually being able to calculate and use the hand and things like that. That's an art in itself. So fantastic content there. Loads and loads more content, but I'll be here all day chatting about content. So best thing to do is try and subscribe to as many channels, and then just try and either watch consistently, similar channels that you like, because everyone's trying to put out slightly different content. That's why it's interesting, because you can pick. I tend to just pick, maybe one week I'll watch one channel, but I'll binge watch episodes to catch up, and then do another channel on another week. So yeah, it's just fun seeing what people are putting out there. So anyway, we're going to get way off track. So today we are talking about toy brands. So toy brands, what are they? Are they worth buying? And how do I feel? Just to put it out there, I am being critical, but I am not trying to say that these companies are rubbish. I'm not trying to tar them with a brush. They're doing what they're doing, but I've got an opinion, and I'm going to say I'm not being paid to say anything good about them, or I'm not receiving any products or anything like that. So what I'm saying is what the views that are coming across in this video are my own. They're not representative maybe of other people's, but free speech. I can voice what I want, and I know some other people feel similar. So yeah, just some frustrations really with some of the toy brands. I'm sure other people share this as well. So let's get into it. So Scalextric have got a big history, going back many years, and really started, maybe didn't start slot racing, but it's debatable kind of where it was kind of first conceived maybe, but Scalextric definitely have pushed it and have paved the way for many companies obviously to follow on. So they are an important company, and I'm not trying to say that they're not an important company, but I just think some of the decisions that they make, I'm banging my head against the wall, just like why because in the past they have put out cars that are higher performance cars, going back years and years. Scalextric were the cars that you raced, but sadly not really anymore. And in fact, I know that clubs may be considering dropping them as an entry level into as a class. More on that in a second. So Scalextric aren't hobby focused cars. They're toy brand. Scalextric have gone in the direction of very much in the direction of toy and TV and film, in terms of what they're putting out there. I mean, they have tried to cover a kind of a wide variety, but they tend to lean on that TV and film, which is fine, but that's a niche market in itself. They kind of feel that it works for them, differentiates them, which is fine in terms of maybe a business model, and then they're putting out other cars as well. But I just feel that they're not going in the direction that they need, especially to be profitable going forwards. They could be making more money, I feel. They could be doing the film and TV cars, and they could be putting out hobby grade cars or entry level hobby grade cars, in my opinion, because that's what is needed. I don't think they're listening to clubs that race cars seriously. Not they're certainly not testing cars. I think what they do is they scan a car, they care about the aesthetics of the car, they put a magnet in and they send it round the track and make sure it runs smooth and well, because they do run smooth. But as soon as you take a magnet out, they're pretty much, you can't use them. With this, with the tires, you can true the tires and use them. But lately, with the new cars that are coming out, the tires, you can't even true them. The compound, they've changed the compound on some of the new cars, and people have been buying the cars to race at the clubs, and they've tried to true the tires, and they can't true the tires. And apparently they've changed the compound. That I don't think they really consulted anyone. I don't know if they really thought about people racing at clubs, but it's certainly not very good, for people buying cars, spending that much on cars. I think it has been fed back to Scalextric, and I haven't heard anything recently on that. But I just feel a bit let down, really, by them, because they're not catering to that. It paves the way with the toy brand car, paves the way for people to get into club racing, so they need to have some sort of progression through their range. So you might say, I think they do well with their start cars, or I don't think they call them start cars anymore. Maybe they do. You have like the Rally, the F1, and I'm trying to think which other cars they do. But they do a series of cars that are below the super resistant cars that are meant for children. They're fine, especially if you're 8 or 9. You don't want anything that's expensive. I think they retail for £25 to £30 in the UK, which is, a fair price for what that car is. And that is fine. They do the super resistant, which are a kind of bit more detailed, high impact cars that can be used by all ages, but they don't tend to have liveries on. They tend to be kind of solid colours, but yeah, they're still nice cars, which is again fine. I think they're somewhere around the, I think maybe £40 mark, between 30 and 40. But then the prices suddenly jumped to 54, nearly £55, £50 for, something that is detailed. And I know that they have to pay money to have the liveries on the cars, which, maybe that's the reason why they cost so much. But there's still a car that relies on a magnet, and taking that magnet out, they don't run very well a lot of the time. You have to add weight to them. You have to do a lot of work to get them running in a Scalextric class, and we do run Scalextric classes where I race, but we do a modified Scalextric class and a standard class, and I know a few of the clubs do run the Scalextric classes, and that's good. That's good for Scalextric, because they're getting enthusiasts that are buying the cars, and quite a lot of the time they're going to be buying more cars than someone that might just have a track at home. People that are serious about racing cars, they're going to be purchasing more cars. So that's a win-win for Scalextric. But for some reason, they're not really interested in club racing. And it shows really in terms of how they develop the cars, prove us wrong, come out with something. I know that they did have they did sell like a chassis that you could add slotted parts to for some of their cars for club racing, but they seem to have dropped that, and I'm not quite sure why they did that. Or just make a car that just runs without a magnet. I'm not talking about every single car, but make a, at the top range, make something that runs without a magnet, make something that works, because what's happening is a lot of other manufacturers like Slot It, trying to think now, Slot It, Polycar, they have cars that are now less than a Scalextric car. There might be white kits, but they're a good £12 to £13 cheaper than a Scalextric car, and they run well. With tuning, obviously, they might not run great out of the box, but once you tune them up a little bit, without adding any parts really, or just adding a bit of weight, they're going to run fast. So, they're missing out on the hobby market, or certainly the entry level or the standard class, which is a shame, because, we want Scalextric to be part of the hobby. And I think a lot of people that they feel that, Scalextric is kind of bowing out of that, that kind of market, and they're just really concentrating on, children and entry level, which is fine, but we want them to develop cars that are actually good to race, non-magnet, and have some that actually, have a whole range. So have a few cars that do run well and can kind of compete in the entry level. We're not talking Revo slot levels of performance, but we just want something that's going to work. We want to still buy Scalextric cars. We want to support Scalextric, and I just don't feel like they're even allowing us to do that. I haven't bought any Scalextric cars this year, mainly just for the fact of, why am I going to spend £50 on a car when I can spend £53, £54 on a Polycar that's better detailed and it runs without a magnet, it's track focused. But I would like to buy some of the Scalextric cars. They look good, but they just don't really go very well. So because it would work with the Arc Pro. So what's the point of having an Arc Pro base if you don't have cars that can perform well without a magnet? It doesn't really make sense to me to have an Arc Pro base and not then offer kind of like a pro level car in a sense, if that makes sense. Something that is, actually, yeah, I can run that at my club. So you could buy a set for home, buy a car that is capable of doing that, and then take it to a club and be confident that you could then run that car at the club. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to move on, because we could go on and on about Scalextric forever. So, I want to support them, but I just feel where we're at the moment, I'm not going to be buying any of their cars. A lot of people aren't buying the cars. What's the point in putting money into? People are just going to look at and go elsewhere. Different brands that, white kits and start spraying their own cars, because you can buy stickers and make liveries up very easily. So it's just sad to see, you know, them not really participating in the hobby side of it, just at a lower level, really. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the future, and maybe they will try and make something happen, and I hope they do. So moving on to Carrera. So Carrera have a good track system. I think a lot of people agree with that their digital system is very, very good. But again, there's some frustrations there around the cars. And I hear a lot of feedback about the tyres, about Carrera tyres being not very long lasting, melting. People talk about having to replace the tyres straight away. They're not a universal size, the tyres. So in terms of getting second-hand tyres, it can be a bit of a nightmare. But obviously, there are companies that, like Paul Gage does urethane tyres, so you can get other tyres. But yeah, I mean, at least the Carrera cars look good, very good, and are cheaper than Scalextric cars. So, you know, and they don't run too badly. I've had people say at the club that they've managed to get Carrera cars running okay. I know that one of the downsides, Scalextric versus Carrera is a heavier car. And I think Gary Skip did a video, kind of a shootout between Scalextric and Carrera, and Scalextric were faster overall. I think it just came down to the weight, basically. But, you know, I think they're certainly built very well, the Carrera cars. But again, toy level, I think the same can be said for Carrera. Is, you know, maybe they should be putting out some entry-level hobby cars, being able to take your Carrera car and put it on a wood track, for example, and do some laps, knowing that it's at a level that, you know, you could race within a club setting with a standard class. I think that's, you know, fair to say that maybe both companies should look at producing something that is a bit more on the lower end of hobby grade. Just something to get started with would be nice, and having that kind of spectrum of cars available to suit everyone, from the beginner through to kind of entry level club racing would be good. And moving on, really, I know it's not really toy grade, but Polycar. What Polycar do very, very well, and actually they are, I wouldn't say maybe toy grade, or not certainly known very, very much for toy grade cars, but they do a home racing. They do a home racing kit. So Polycar basically do the Home Racer series of cars. These cars are very, very good for the price. They do solid colour cars that were a bit cheaper. I don't know if they've discontinued those, but a few years ago they were in the UK around £25 to £30, which is absolutely great value for money. So what they've done is they've kind of gone with a similar concept to Scare Electric in terms of non-liveried cars, but they have put them with basic slotting running gear to give them that performance as well, which is, that's all that Scare Electric need to do, is just offer something that and Carrera as well. I know Carrera has a little bit better in terms of hardware, in terms of like the axles and the brass bearings. But yeah, the polycars, are very good. The motor is held down, which is something that, even hobby grade cars don't always have. Is like a motor mount, kind of, the motors are actually screwed in. I know that you have like a motor pod on a lot of the hobby grade cars, but so yeah, the Polycar Home Racer series have the slotted bearings and axles and plastic wheels, which are better quality than the Scare Electric or Carrera, I think, in terms of how round they are. And the tyre compound, I think, is, don't know if it's a standard kind of slotted tyre compound. I'm not 100% sure. I should have really researched that, but yeah. But I know that the cars are fully upgradable with slotted parts, and I know you could say the same about Scare Electric or Carrera, because technically you could put any parts in any car, but Polycar just seemed to have the right formula, going from kind of like a home racer series with some ability to run the cars to a level that's, I would say, kind of like hobby grade almost, with the option of upgrading. And the home racer cars, I believe, in the Polycar sets, they come without magnets, I believe, or that's what I've read. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Pete from Track Fans can confirm that, because he's got a set. Do your cars have magnets, Pete, or do they come without? The reason for that with the Polycar track is because it's so textured, and that allows the cars to grip better. So Polycar do say the Home Race Series cars do run well without magnet. And for that price point for the cars, the Polycars, I think they've got front headlights as well, interiors, and rubber kind of rubber wing mirrors, which are flexible, which is really, really good, because the last thing you want to do is snap your wing mirror off and have to glue or buy new ones. So they've really thought about the type of person that's going to be using the car and giving it some performance. And then you go up from the basic home racer Polycar cars, which are on the lower end of the pricing, to something like a below slotted, which is like the Polycar range of different cars, and those cars are works of art, really. The Polycars, really, really nicely detailed, all run without magnets, precision engineered, and they retail, I think, around, in the UK, around between 55, 60, 65, depending on the car, which is fantastic. Bearing in mind, Scare Electric are selling their cars for around £54, some of them, which is basically the same price. So something doesn't add up to me. Maybe it's the cost of the liveries, but Scalextric have the option, and Carrera have the option of having cars like Polycar, maybe like the classic type cars, or just running cars without liveries that, I don't know, loopholes in terms of being able to, do cars or make them look similar or whatever. But I'm sure that they could do something and have something that people can use, hobby grade, like entry level hobby grade. That's all that I would want, and then I'm happy to spend my money. Happy to drop that money with those companies because I want to support those companies, but it's just, I'm not going to spend that money when I can buy a Polycar or a Slot-It, or a Revo slot, white kit for basically the same money, which is crazy. I've got a Revo, the Porsche 911 GT2. I think I'm sure I paid like between 55, 60 pounds for that white kit. That is insane value to think that you're getting a full metal chassis, full running gear, 25k motor, and the performance that puts out is, way exceeds anything from Scalextric or Carrera. Of course you're going to buy that, and of course you're going to, it's not hard to paint a car really. Even if you're just painting it a solid colour, you can put some decals on that you can buy from Pendle for £5. It's not a lot of money really. So yeah, I think the toy brands do need to, listen, and they do need to focus on hobby grade, not exclusively hobby grade, but just have a few cars get into the market. Because, if you do not do that, your business is going to suffer because of that. I think SCX the thing that they do well is they don't, I don't know how well they run. I don't really have a lot of experience, so I can't really comment. It may be unfair to comment on how well they handle without magnets. So, it will be unfair to kind of have a go at SCX because I don't really have any SCX and I don't have much experience with SCX. But I'm guessing that they're fairly similar to Scalextric in terms of what they're putting out. And I know they run with like the older Scalextric guides and track, but they do seem to put a lot of rally cars out with. They have like a whole rally track system, don't they, with the timing, gantry and all sorts, which is pretty cool. That's something that is very something that no one else really does. But yeah, I'm not sure how well they run. I might have to pick an SCX up. Ninco was always kind of, they were like toy brand, but kind of focused on, they were kind of riding the line between toy and hobby, which is, fine, because you kind of maybe use them to get into racing hobby grade, racing within a club, and then you might get some other more hobby focused cars, and they'll have like a Ninco class kind of option, a bit like Scalextric classes in the clubs. And Nincos go pretty well. I've got a few Ninco cars, and you can get, I think they did an old angle winder, but it was plastic gears, and they're prone to cracking. But they don't go too badly actually. And they were a bit more focused on providing something for the hobby market as well, and kind of rode the line, which is fine. I think that's all that we're asking, is that the toy brands do offer something as a progression to get into the hobby side, and that's fine. That's just something that should be there. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap the video up, because I'm just going to go off on tangents. But essentially what I'm trying to say is, my opinion is that the toy brands should be putting out in 2023 not just cars with liveries that look great and run with magnets, but they should be putting out some more club focused cars. They should be working on that progression to club racing and supporting club racing, because that's what's going to help boost your sales. People that race for clubs are going to come back and buy those cars to keep their cars running. Anyone that races at clubs knows that you smash cars up, you can rip, you can basically annihilate chassis. If you hit something on the track going flat out, you're going to tear that chassis apart, or fly off down a corner and completely destroy the front end. So, people are always fixing up cars, buying new cars, and people that race for clubs are going to buy those more than people that just have cars at home. So TV themed cars are great, but they who's racing those really at home? They go on a shelf. I don't really understand that with I think Corgi. So Hornby own Corgi as well, and they seem to release the James Bond car, the underwater car, submarine car. Corgi also do a die-cast version. For me, die-cast is probably better for a display piece than a slot car. It's a bit more robust in terms of longevity, I think anyway. I'd rather have a die-cast car versus a slot car in the cabinet, or at least if I have. So I've got some NSRs, but I know that I can put them on the track and race them. So I probably am going to race them. Maybe not in a club race, but I'm going to put them around the club track and have fun with them. I think that's the beauty of having those kind of cars, is that, yeah, they look great in a cabinet, but you can take them back out. You can take them out of the cabinet and actually play with them, use them. Whereas, you put it in a box. The James Bond submarine car, I'm guessing it runs round, but it doesn't even have front wheels. So, how much fun is that going to be? I don't really see the point in running that round the track. I don't know. And a lot of the LEDs have been burning out on quite a few of the Scalextric cars as well. So, if you do buy it for the collector kind of market, and you do decide to run them round, you potentially run the risk of burning some of the LEDs out. So I don't know if the Scalextric have sorted that out, but that's pretty poor in my opinion. And some of the liveries that they've been putting out that aren't very accurate, again, for the collector's market, isn't a great look. So anyway, right, wrapping that up. So that's about 40 minutes. So I don't know if anyone's got all the way to the end, and I hope I haven't bored you, but yeah, I just wanted to get that off my chest and